Good morning to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, CFR. Your Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Your Excellency, the Governor of Oyo State, Engineer Seyi Makinde. The President of the Court of Appeal, Honorable Justice Monica Dongban Mensem, PCA, ably represented today by Honorable Justice H.R. Abiru, GCA. The Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Honorable Justice J.T. Soho, also ably represented today by Honorable Justice A.M. Liman. The Chief Judge of Lagos State, Honorable Justice Kazim Alugba. Honorable Minister of Mines and Steels Development, Architect Olamilekan Adigbite. The President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Paul Usoro, SAN. Honorable Attorney General of Lagos State, Moyosore Onigbanjo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. The Chair of the Nigerian Bar Association, Section on Business Law, Mr. Sheni Adeyo. The President of the Global Government Affairs and Policy, as well as Developed Markets for General Electric, U.S. Senator Williams Moe-Cowan. Members of the bench, members of the bar, senior advocates of Nigeria, members of the Nigerian Bar Association, students, ladies and gentlemen from across the world, you're all welcome to the 14th edition of the Nigerian Bar Association Section on Business Law Annual Conference. My name is Wale Famiro. I'm delighted to be comparing over the next 2 days. Now, due to the public health concerns we have in our country and indeed across the world, this year's edition is an e-conference. But that's not to take anything away from the depth of dialogue and conversations that we should be having over the next 2 days. And we look forward to having you as a big part of that. The theme of this year's edition is Business Unusual, Digital Acceleration for Growth in a New World. A very germane topic, and we all thank you for tuning in on your devices, on your laptops, your desktops, or whatever device that you are viewing this from. We're delighted to have you on today. So without further ado, I would like to now welcome the chair of the Conference Planning Committee to provide some opening remarks as we move forward in today's program. Now, ordinarily, I will have asked you to welcome her with a round of applause. But it's unlikely that she will be able to appreciate that over the internet, so I'll simply just say, please receive Ozofu Lamide Ogemidia.
I would like to stand on existing protocols and say good morning to you all. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the 14th Annual Business Law Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association Section on Business Law and the first ever e-conference of the NBA SPL. These are unique times. We currently face an invisible enemy that no one saw coming, no pun intended. An enemy that has taken on nations and economies of the world, Nigeria inclusive. Many have lost their lives while the battle to subdue and overcome the COVID-19 pandemic rages on. Businesses have been greatly impacted by the pandemic, with some having to shut their doors permanently. Many have lost their jobs and means of livelihood, while others are barely hanging on. Here in Nigeria, even in the best of times, we operate in a challenging business environment, which has become even more challenging on account of the pandemic. Despite this grim picture, we see positives. We have, in the past 5 months, made giant strides in terms of digitizing the way in which we do business in Nigeria. Businesses, including the business of law, have had to adapt and move online in order to stay in touch with customers and clients and continue to provide as seamless a service as possible. Some sectors are seeing a boost. There will be life after the pandemic, and as the section on business law, we feel it is important for us to drive the discussion around how to navigate the new world that will continue to evolve and consider how, as business lawyers, we can leverage technology to position ourselves as catalysts for growth. The e-conference will also offer us an opportunity to look closely at certain key sectors of the Nigerian economy and discuss what players in those sectors can do to come out successfully on the other side of this pandemic. Those sectors include banking, oil and gas, healthcare, technology, maritime, aviation, travel and tourism, just to mention a few. This conference is one of the first major business events in Nigeria during the ongoing pandemic. And as such, we have taken this unique opportunity to put together an eminent panel of speakers to help us explore our theme, Business Unusual, Digital Acceleration for Growth in a New World. We invite you to join us over the course of 2 days to enjoy and be challenged and enlightened by 15 sessions comprising 3 star plenary sessions, 7 breakout sessions, a fireside chat, an SBL showcase, a well-being session, and a debate. I would like to shine the spotlight on our 3 plenary sessions, each of which promises to deliver a different perspective on our conference theme. Our first plenary session is Disrupting the Status Quo, Charting the Path for an Alliance. And it will be a frank discussion between entrepreneurs and policymakers on forging a new alliance under which Nigerian businesses can flourish. Our second plenary session, titled Business Unusual, Continuity in Times of Crisis, will explore how businesses are planning to ensure continuity for employees, partners, and customers in the short term, and measures to preserve long-term value for stakeholders and shareholders. Our third plenary, which will take place tomorrow, is Zooming Ahead, the legal industry post-COVID-19. It will involve a reimagination of legal service delivery occasioned by the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Before I go, I would like to thank God for giving us all the grace to be here today. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to our sponsors, without whose support this e-conference could not have happened. I would also like to thank the Council of the Nigerian Bar Association Section on Business Law for the honor given me to organize this conference. My gratitude also goes to every member of the Conference Planning Committee who rose to the challenge of reimagining this conference as an e-conference and doing what was required to make it happen, volunteering their time, working really hard day and night and weekends to make this conference a success. I must also thank their law firms for giving them the time to commit to planning this conference and for their financial support as sponsors. I would like to thank my partners and every member of the law firm of Udo Udoma and Bello Sage for their support every step of the way. I welcome you all to a conference of firsts, the first MBA SBL e-conference. Enjoy our online platform, and in between sessions, please stay connected for our speed networking feature and other fun firsts. Thank you and welcome.
Good morning. It gives me great pleasure to be here. Ordinarily, I would have stood on the existing protocol, but out of the greatest respect for our distinguished guests, I'm going to establish mine. Good morning, my Lord, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, Commander of the Federal Republic, Your Excellency, Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Your Excellency, Governor of Oyo State, the pace setter, and my own state engineer, Seyi Makinde. I would like to pause here to give a very warm Nigerian welcome to our keynote speaker on this august occasion, and my very dear friend, brother, former law partner at Mintz Levin, and the list goes on and on and on, Senator William Mo Cowan. My deep gratitude to the President of the Court of Appeal, Honorable Justice Monica Dongam Mensem, President of the Court of Appeal, ably represented by Honorable Justice H.A. Abiru, JCA, the Chief Judge of Lagos State, Honorable Justice Kazim Alugba, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Honorable Justice J.T. Soho, ably represented by Honorable Justice A.M. Liman, the Honorable Minister of Mines, Power, the Mines, Steel Development, and Steel Development Architect Olamilekan Adegbite, my lords here present, the president of Nigerian Bar Association, my own president, Mr. Paul Usoro, senior advocate of Nigeria, my amiable friend and honorable Attorney General of Lagos State, Moyosori Onigbanjo, senior advocate of Nigeria, learned senior advocates of Nigeria, learned friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. To me, this conference is a celebration of not giving up, a celebration of overcoming, a symbol of resilience, adapting, dynamism, and teamwork, as well as the result of a labor of love and an overriding commitment to our stakeholders, including entrepreneurs, big business, commercial lawyers, and regulators. We cannot ignore the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. To put things in context, at the conclusion of the 13th Business Law Conference, which ended on June 28, 2019, we naturally assumed that the 14th Business Law Conference in 2020 will, as have the previous conferences, also be a physical conference. Indeed, we began preparations as early as December 2019, when we inaugurated a conference planning committee. But alas, by March 2020, we were hit by the COVID. Then the lockdown. And the discussions became whether we should postpone the conference from the previously scheduled date of June 25 to 26, 2020, or outrightly cancel this year's conference. Our decision was swift and unanimous. I emphasize swift and unanimous. We will not succumb to the COVID. The conference will hold. It will be an e-conference, and here we are. This is perhaps the very first e-conference in these parts, and likely one of the first globally. We, the SBL, chose to describe this assembly as an e-conference, as opposed to a virtual conference, because to us, this is real. Our reality, call it virtual reality, if you'd like. And it is fitting at this juncture to salute the chairpersons of our various specialist committees, 22 of them to be specific. Instead of being victims of our circumstances, with all sense of modesty, we were resourceful and innovative, and thus recorded the highest number of knowledge-sharing sessions in a short period of 3 months, through what, at least for now, has become our new norm, the now renowned webinars. We had circa 20 webinars between April and July 2020, meaning sometimes having 2 to 3 webinars in a week, covering distinct, and I repeat, distinct specialist areas of law such as employment, labor, and industrial relations, law practice management, arbitration and ADR, maritime, taxation, travel, tourism, and hospitality, aviation, entertainment, mining, insurance, agriculture, and the list goes on and on. In addition to the foregoing, we also organize various programs for the special ones, our young lawyers, including the Young Lawyers Committee's program called Young Lawyers Committee Instagram Live, and then Drafting Clearer Contracts, a 2-day training seminar. As is the hallmark of the SBL, the section has remained dynamic, innovative, transforming, inclusive, and importantly, members have been selfless, and indeed they have been selfless in providing all manner of resources to support the efforts of the federal government to ease doing business in Nigeria and generally making the Nigerian economy more competitive through the championing of what we describe as smarter regulations. In consonance with the theme of this year's conference, we have organized a program that coalesces the breadth and wealth of the enviable resources and expertise of a diverse group of speakers and panelists to make this conference one for the ages. As I close, I hereby reiterate my heartfelt gratitude to my good friend and brother, Senator William Mo Cowan. The good senator was emphatic and enthusiastic in accepting our invitation as keynote speaker, and we feel very honored and privileged for his kind consideration. Mo has always kept it real. He's the real deal. With best wishes for a most enlightening, interesting, and solution-proffering conference. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adio, for really setting the tone for what should be an enlightening 2 days. And as Ozofu mentioned earlier, we do look forward to frank conversations over the course of these 2 days. But at the same time, we have very able and distinguished personalities joining us. And one of my jobs over the next 2 days is to be, as we used to say in the literary and debating club in secondary school, accurate timekeeper. So part of my job is to try and keep us on time, because indeed this is a global conference, as we have people joining in from all over the world. So moving very quickly to receive the next remarks as we proceed, we are delighted to have His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, joining us. So I would like to now just introduce to deliver his opening remarks, His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu.
Good morning, all. I want to first congratulate the President. I also want to congratulate the Chairman of Nigerian Bar Association, the section of the business law, Mr. Sheni Adio, SAN, for putting this together. I think he had happily introduced and done the protocol list very well this morning, but I think it's also important to acknowledge in the conference, the e-conference, my colleague, the governor of Oyo State, who I'm told is also joining us, or he has joined us, and of course, the representative of the Chief Judge of the Federation. Indeed, all of the very many distinguished participants, especially the guest speaker this morning, all the way from the United States of America. Thank you very much. I'm actually indeed excited. I'm delighted to be joining the Nigerian Bar Association, the section of. I'm actually delighted to join members of the Nigerian Bar Association on the business law on its 14th annual conference, which it has aptly termed Business Unusual, Digital Acceleration for Growth in a New World. These are really, really difficult times and different times for all of us. This is really business unusual. And I'm happy that Sheni had actually introduced and said that this is an e-conference, not just a virtual presentation or meeting. This conference would have brought together thousands of professionals. This will continue to get better as we all go along, right? This is a new us and it's a new beginning. But I mean, like I said, however, due to global crisis, the organizers, Sheni and all of you, have resolved to an efficient and pragmatic virtual platform, which in my view achieves the same an objective today. Right. Just as the organizers of this conference have done, I'm certain that we have one form of our life being transformed into a very new way of life and a manner in which we now transact business. I think it's in the words of Nassar Jones, who said, welcome to a new world, welcome to a new beginning, welcome to a new way to play, welcome to a new way of living, a new life for men, children, and women. These words were altered towards the end of the last century, 1999 to be precise. But now, 20 years after, we can begin to see that those interesting words, as welcome to a new world, is now a reality in our space. Before now, the word business unusual were usually altered more around references around attitudinal change or just superficial alterations of how things are done around all of us. However, the exigencies of the moment have shown that business unusual can in actual sense mean conducting businesses in a fundamentally different way. One of that affects the entire mode of operations, and that's where we're here this morning. The government of Lagos State, for which I am humbled to be superintending over right now, in its almost 55 years of existence, we never had anticipated that the state weekly executive council would be done on a weekly basis virtually. I'm happy to note that we're indeed the very first in the country to start our virtual cabinet meeting from March the 30th, 2020. And to date, we've held about 15 of such executive council meetings on a weekly basis. This for us shows that things are actually have changed amongst us, and we needed to have a change in the way we do things and way we conduct our businesses as a government as well. And I wish to also mention that on a daily basis, we're still conducting our businesses virtually. Change is certainly upon us, and adapt we must with these new changes. Service to our citizens of our great state cannot cease, and I'm happy to report that great strides are being made in spite of the constraints imposed upon us by the prevailing climate. But an occasion like this should also be a time to avert our minds to happenings around us. The past 4 to 5 months have presented an unprecedented global challenge in both our public and our private lives, especially around a financial and economic crisis confronting all of us, especially subnationals like ourselves. Businesses are affected, health of people have been challenged, security issues, social issues are around us. On our part, this meant that we have to put on our thinking cap and seek ways to fashion out new or amended policies that will shield us from the calamitous effects on our people. That certainly we cannot allow it to happen. We have equally engaged with the private sector. We continue to understand and appreciate that the private sector are indeed the engines of growth, and we must continue to create an enabling environment for them to do well, especially particularly around the small, medium, and large businesses, and ensuring that policies we're formulating, guidelines we're issuing out, balances out at ensuring public health safety is not compromised, and of course, the economy is also not strangulated or suffered. As a government, we have dedicated ourselves to acceleration of growth and development in all sectors. This is in furtherance of our commitment to deliver on our mandate through our 6-pillar, which we had called the team's agenda, for which I'm sure all of you know that from traffic management, transportation, to economic management, to tourism, to education, to technology, to ensuring that Lagos becomes resilient as the 21st century are part of the daily things that we're dealing with and we're managing at the affairs of the states going forward. As partners and stakeholders in our effort to build a greater Lagos for all of us, with fundamental facilities and amenities, I urge you to continue to give your support and assistance, particularly to the section of the business law that we're having this e-conference to today, and essentially all around your various stakeholders, and working with us as responsible corporate citizens and ensuring that corporate social responsibility becomes a norm, becomes some part of you going forward. I must also charge you to take personal responsibility to champion in all of your businesses safety guidelines and measures that we have put in place to continue to ensure that our people remain safe, secure, and we continue to work in an environment such that we can slow down the growth of this pandemic and we can flatten the curve and get back to our normal life in no distant future. I'm certainly confident that this e-conference, which we're doing virtually, will still not lose its flavor, and our distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, will have a rewarding experience as we usually do on a year-to-year basis. And I want to commend and congratulate the organizers for not allowing this very difficult time to stop at what you know how to do best. We will be watching out and be looking forward to all of the recommendations that will be coming out from all of the engagements from this e-conference. And I want to wish all of you a wonderful deliberation on the next 24 to 48 hours. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Your Excellency, Governor Sanwo-Olu, really appreciate you joining us this morning and, of course, for your well wishes and, of course, your instruction as we continue to wade through what is truly a global pandemic. Moving on, I'd like to now welcome to deliver his opening remarks the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Paul Usoro, SAN.
To save time, I would stand on the list of protocol that was set by the chairman of the section on business law, Mr. Sheni Adio, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. But even then, I must in particular welcome a number of very distinguished personages that have graced this occasion this morning. And I start with His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Jide Sanwo-Olu. His own is particularly exciting for me because I know how busy the governor is right now. I know the challenges that we all have as a nation, particularly in regard to the pandemic that is ravaging everywhere in the world right now. And I know the efforts that the governor is putting to make sure that this terrible problem is contained in Lagos State. And for him to spare the time to be with us today, it's something that we cannot thank him enough. Your Excellency, thank you so much, not only for attending, but for the nice things you have said this morning. We take them to heart. I must also welcome specially our Chief Justice of the Federation, Honorable Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed. My Lord also has a very busy docket, even in these days of COVID-19. Even having to manage the judiciary of this country in the light of the present circumstances is quite a challenge. That my Lord found the time, had the interest to be with us this morning during this events, the section on business law opening. It's something that we as lawyers, we appreciate very much. Incidentally, I must mention, my Lord has always been available to attend most of our functions, and this we do not take for granted. We appreciate this very greatly. And the bar would always be there to work with my Lord in having to make justice administration much better and improve on what your Lordship is currently working on, and also ensure that the rule of law continues to reign supreme. I must also specifically acknowledge and welcome my Lord, the Chief Judge of Lagos State, Honorable Justice Kazim Alogba. Agreed that this is a virtual conference, but I do know that a number of the participants and a number of the key leaders in section in business law, they are in Lagos State, which makes not only His Excellency, but also my Lord, the Chief Judge of Lagos State, to be effectively the hosts of this event. And my Lord has also always made himself available to the bar at any time and at all times that we require him. And for this, we remain very, very grateful. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen and my colleagues, and this of course includes the Honorable Attorney General of Lagos State and other excellencies who might be present. And I must specifically mention and welcome the keynote speaker, the senator from the United States of America. It is so very nice of you to have made the time to be with us and to deliver an address for us today. This is actually a landmark event that we have. This is the very first of the virtual conference that the Nigerian Bar Association is having. And it's significant that it is by the section of business law. The annual general conference itself, we intend to have a virtual conference, and that is going to be in about another 1 month, couple of days plus a month, on the 26th of August to the 28th of August. And this is more like a test run of what we are going to have, and it's an appetizer of what we would have during that annual general conference. It is said that sometimes from disaster comes some very glorious and good things, and this is exactly what we are experiencing now, particularly in Nigeria. We are going through very dark and difficult times everywhere in the world because of the pandemic. But from that gloom, there are some bright spots. One of them is the advancements that we are having in terms of digital activities. I will mention one or two things as far as Nigeria is concerned, and as far as lawyers are concerned, so we can focus on that. First of all, because we must communicate virtually or digitally, if you like, I wonder whether most of you have noticed that there is a tendency to keep to time. When the conference was programmed to start today at 9:40, if it were to be the normal program that we usually have, we would perhaps still be waiting for about another 1 hour before we start the program. But now everybody is conscious, being a virtual conference, that you must start it on time. And for those who are having virtual conferences or meetings with their clients, you would also notice that keeping to time has become more of the norm. And gradually, not that we are missing it, gradually we are getting to remove the business of having Nigerian time. That's one of the advantages in regard to that has come out of this disaster. I'll mention another one. The Justice Administration is also getting to be digitized. And it's a good thing that the Supreme Court has delivered a judgment that has said that virtual hearing is constitutional. And that is going to develop the law. It is going to help us as far as the rule of law and as far as justice administration is concerned. And we can only get better. There might be glitches, but those things would be smoothed out. Maybe in the course of this conference, we would look at other bright spots, and there would be plenty of it for us to review in the course of the conference. In the meantime, all I can say is welcome everyone and hope that you'll stay through and you would enjoy the conference. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul Usoro, SAN, the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, for your remarks. And again, I mentioned that my job is to be a timekeeper, so I would like to move very quickly to invite our next speaker to deliver his opening address before we cross over to the US to hear from the Senator. So speaking next will be the Chief Justice of the Federation, the Honorable Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed.
Yeah, a very good morning to all of you, particularly the Governor of Lagos State, His Excellency Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Governor of Oyo State, the keynote speaker, the Chief Judge of Lagos State, honorable judges of the High Court and learned senior advocates, captains of industry, learned members of the Ataba, members of the press, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My task this morning is a very simple one, though profound, brief. I say simple because I'm here to convey my goodwill of the judiciary, and in particular, this morning the Nigerian Bar Association. section of business law. Now, the task or the facts that the MBA and the SBL decided to proceed with its annual conference is a statement to the dynamism of the section and, importantly, the resilience and resourcefulness of the leadership under its chairman, Sani Adio, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. So I congratulate and commend the section that they refuse to allow the scourge of the COVID-19 prevent them from holding the 14th Annual Business Law Conference, albeit it is a virtual conference. Now, turning to the theme of the conference, business as unusual, digital acceleration for growth in a new world. The theme, I must say, is quite apt. Indeed, to give one very recent example, the Supreme Court only a few days ago held that courts may conduct proceedings through video conferencing, and there is nothing ab initio unconstitutional about this process, subject, of course, to conditions which a court may deem appropriate to foster transparency and fair hearing. In this regard, most courts have issued practice direction to guide litigants and counsel. It is imperative to always bear in mind that the judiciary and the bar have a collective responsibility to our stakeholders, namely members of the public who always strive for just and prompt delivery of justice in order to engender confidence in the justice system and promote the rule of law. I started by saying that I will really be brief. So in keeping with my opening statement, and to afford our delegates the opportunity to promptly get into the substance of the plenaries and breakout sessions, I wish the organizers, the delegates, and indeed the resource persons a very informative and truly inspiring conference. Accordingly, I hereby declare the conference open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, for your comments and for setting the tone for what should be a very exciting 2 days. So we are moving on to, if you like, the first of several key events today, and which is the keynote address, which will be delivered all the way from the United States by Senator William Cohen, who is the president. Senator William Cohen, who is the president, Global Government Affairs and Policy, and Developed Markets for General Electric.
I stand on the list of protocols and say good morning and thank you for the introduction. I'm grateful to the leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law for this most generous opportunity to address this distinguished audience. It is a tremendous honor to be addressing such a distinguished group of fellow lawyers gathered for the 14th Annual Business Law Conference. I last visited Nigeria 2 years ago, and I would have relished the chance to return to be with you all in one hall where we can engage in the kind of interactions for which this event has become known. Alas, the novel coronavirus continues to upend global travel and, of course, so many other aspects of our lives. That said, and given the digital theme of this conference, it is perhaps most fitting that I join you over the internet. You may well wonder about my connection to Nigeria, since my biography speaks of my roles in senior positions with state government of Massachusetts as a US Senator and now as an executive at General Electric. Well, among my responsibilities with GE, I lead the company's global government affairs and policy efforts, deploying my team of professionals, including right there in Nigeria, to advance and support the commercial needs of our portfolio businesses and customers. GE, in fact, has been in Nigeria for more than 40 years. We are privileged that not only are our products in aviation, healthcare, electric power, and digital technology used across Nigeria, but that we employ 200 people in the country in a variety of roles, 98% of whom are Nigerian. And we value greatly our partnerships with the government of the Federal Republic, particularly our longstanding relationships with the Ministries of Health and Power. But I also have a more personal connection to Nigeria. Namely, my decades-long friendship with a man whom I consider not only to be a friend and professional mentor, but also a brother, your section chair, Shani Adio. Shani's skill, talent, and leadership are well known to this audience. As he concludes his 2-year term leading the business law section, he does so with a record of great accomplishment and has planted seeds that, with proper cultivation and harvesting by his successors, will ensure that the business law section continues to stand as the premier and preeminent section, not only in the Nigerian Bar Association, but in bar associations around the globe. I read with great interest and deep appreciation the communique issued after the 13th annual conference last June. Under Shani's guidance, the business law section gave great attention to the Nigerian economy and the role of Nigeria's distinguished bar in tackling head-on declines in GDP, foreign direct investment, and increases in youth unemployment. The presentation of observations and, most importantly, pragmatic recommendations suggest an action blueprint that may lead to real sustainable growth for Nigeria and her people. Of course, I was not surprised in the least at the thorough presentation of ideas or the robust agenda these ideas demand. To me, this work and the work of your business law section these past 2 years in particular very much reflect the nature of your leader and my friend. I have known this distinguished gentleman for over 25 years. In many respects, we grew up together professionally here in the States. We practiced law together in the earliest days of our careers and raised our families together. In fact, one of his last acts before returning home to continue his illustrious career and join his family in the law in Nigeria, Shani stopped by the hospital to greet my firstborn son and offer us his blessings. And much the way you know him now, back in Boston, Shani was a recognized leader among our profession. The calm, resolute demeanor which he has deployed to great success with you is the same as he used to represent the clients and advise various organizations during our time together. Indeed, one of my professional highlights is the day that I learned Shani, myself, and another of our Black colleagues all had been invited into the partnership of the law firm, which brought us together and allowed us to form lifelong bonds. Much time and distance and hairlines have passed since those days, but Shani remains a true gentleman and scholar, and he forever will remain my brother. Before I plunge into matters digital, I wanted to say a few more words about COVID-19. I note that the tagline for the conference is business unusual, which seems apt given the time we are in. As you may have read, COVID has hit my country hard. The US has 4% of the global population, but fully 25% of the world's recorded coronavirus cases. Some of the causes for these sobering case numbers are uniquely American. Our cultural emphasis on individual freedom, for example, causes some Americans to challenge public health recommendations and state government orders calling for face coverings, as you may have seen in the media. I could go on at great length about the folly of those who take this position, but I will not. Instead, I'd like to spend a moment on other causes for the high case count in the US that may sound familiar in the Nigerian context. The size of our country, for example, the volume of internal travel, a federal system with different government authorities at the state, national, and local levels, and coordination that can be quite challenging. The push and pull of multiple agencies offering varied health advice and regional disparities in access to healthcare. As a result, companies like GE that are critical to keeping electricity flowing, CT scanners humming, and vital supplies moving have to provide workplaces that are as safe as is possible for our critical employees, often in areas in which COVID-19 is not yet controlled. Larger companies with broad presences must navigate a web of government orders that vary by city, county, state, and country. You at this conference are leaders in law firms, companies, and government agencies. I know the burdens that fall on your shoulders to keep your essential employees safe, your company lights on, and to get work done for your clients and the customers who rely upon you. I know from personal experience, this task is far from easy, but it is important. The world benefits when each of us, whether in the private or public sectors, does her or his part. You have my thanks and respect for what you are doing to keep society moving as safely as possible, despite COVID-19. At GE, here are just a few examples of the ways we have responded to this crisis. In regions with coronavirus outbreaks that are high or rising, we are urging our employees who can work from home to do so. We had to adapt fast and establish new safety protocols, particularly for our frontline workers. In sub-Saharan Africa alone, we have 400 field engineers, plus hundreds of commercial staff and technical and clinical specialists who have to be on site, often in locations far from home, to support hospitals, clinicians, power utilities, and airline companies who are trying to deliver critical services every day. We have focused on ensuring customers' operations through uninterrupted service and maintenance, technical support and training, supply of critical technologies, and execution of projects and donation efforts. In fact, we have made charitable donations of tens of thousands of gloves and masks and helped governments acquire PPE where they otherwise did not have it. We have increased manufacturing capacity of CTs, ultrasound devices, mobile X-ray systems, patient monitors, and ventilators. We ramped up production of our ventilators to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, initially doubling capacity of production and put in place plans to double it again by the end of June. GE Healthcare launched its Thoracic Care Suite, a collection of 8 artificial intelligence algorithms to help alleviate clinical strain due to COVID-19. And GE Aviation is leveraging data through proprietary tools that can help carriers make smarter decisions during disruptions like this pandemic. GE Power is providing maintenance strategies and digital solutions to power utilities and independent power producers across sub-Saharan Africa to ensure increased productivity, worker safety, and operations continuity during the crisis. And leveraging expertise drawn from our Center of Excellence for Education, the GE Healthcare Institute, our healthcare business has provided free training for digital solutions and clinical applications to over 2,000 clinicians to date across the continent. The content covers diagnosis, effective response, and management of COVID-19 patients. And providing support to the Nigerian government through the National COVID-19 Task Force Hotline, we are supporting the overflow of phone calls and offering pre-approved and standardized advice to callers. Again, the donation of personal protective equipment from face masks and temperature scanners and the like to healthcare workers is aiding those who need to be on the front lines across Africa. Finally, supporting global efforts to address the coronavirus, we have donated $1 million from our foundation to the UN Foundation in support of WHO's COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund. I sincerely hope at this time next year, COVID-19 will be receding into the rearview mirror in both of our countries and all of our lives. However, COVID seems certain to bring lasting changes to how we work globally, and many of these changes will leverage digital technology, apropos of this conference. And this is an apt theme indeed, given Nigeria's achievements in the internet sector. Being asked to speak about developments in digital law and policy to a Nigerian audience reminds me of the old saying, like, why bring sand to a beach? Both the World Bank and OECD recognize Nigerian leadership in Africa in consumer-focused e-commerce. Jumia, for example, is listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and Conga is another company having made a global name for itself. And despite a lower reliance on mobile and electronic payments in Nigeria than elsewhere in West and East Africa, the Nigerian digital sector has shown remarkable creativity in offering e-commerce in a society in which cash remains a primary means of transaction. Of course, the consumer internet is not the only place where the action is. And I'd like to focus the remainder of my remarks on the advent of the industrial Internet of Things, or IIoT, and how GE helped start this technology sector. Back in 2011, GE researchers had become convinced that core internet technologies such as connectivity, cloud storage, and data analytics could have as profound an impact on the industrial sector as we had seen with the consumer internet. So at GE, we took a bold step. We transformed GE into the world's premier digital industrial company using our scale and diversity to drive outcomes for customers. We opened GE Digital outside San Francisco, California, and GE software engineers created a platform and built apps to help our customers utilize the power and insights of the industrial Internet of Things. For example, GE Digital software allows us to decrease unscheduled maintenance, operate factories more efficiently, improve health and safety, and lower greenhouse gas emissions while boosting manufacturing quality. This software provides the IT foundation for tomorrow's industrial operations today. And today, the benefits of the industrial internet are no longer a secret. Some studies have estimated that the industrial internet will add trillions to global GDP over the next 10 years and transform a slew of our business sectors. Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum calls this the fourth industrial revolution. And as a result, governments are starting to get more involved, which can be good and bad, respectfully, in certain instances. For example, in efforts to promote their own national champions, governments could risk taking steps to end up limiting the potential of the industrial internet as a dynamic global force for economic good. Let me be clear though, there's certainly a proper role for government and for policymakers in this area. We at GE put the priority areas into 6 baskets, or 6 principles, if you will, where we believe governments should consider focusing their attention. As Nigeria looks to evolve its approach to regulating aspects of the digital economy, we humbly share these principles for your consideration. Number 1 is standards. The industrial internet is young, roughly a decade old, and it's marked by innovation and private sector-led efforts to ensure interoperability. Promoting open, voluntary, industry-led standards is the best way for governments to ensure maximal innovation and globally compatible standards. Companies like GE want to be able to provide the industrial internet to our customers across the 180 borders where we operate. Number 2, privacy. Now, this is really an area where I put a red flag on more than any other, because privacy for the consumer internet is different than privacy for the industrial internet. Data generated by industrial equipment, with some exceptions in the healthcare space, rarely include anything that can be reasonably construed as personal data or personally identifiable information. So industrial internet applications, like the ones that GE is working on, typically don't target consumers and do not collect information about consumers. For example, raw sensor data from a gas turbine does not implicate personally identifiable information. So government shouldn't just take privacy regulation that was designed for the consumer space and simply apply it to the industrial space. Number 3, cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is enormously important in the era of the industrial internet, and strong sectorial cybersecurity regulations are in place around the globe in areas encompassing critical infrastructure, such as power and healthcare. However, cybersecurity regulation should not discriminate against the cloud. Cloud storage offers myriad cybersecurity benefits and is typically more secure than on-premises solutions. Globally interoperable cybersecurity frameworks, such as those from the International Standards Organization, are the most effective approach to promoting cybersecurity. Number 4, freedom of contract. Again, this really goes to the difference between the industrial internet and the consumer internet. Industrial internet applications are business to business or business to government, with legally sophisticated parties on all sides. Contracts are the most effective mechanism to address issues such as liability, data rights, consumer entitlement to software updates, and intellectual property. Contracts also offer far more flexibility than relatively inflexible regulations. Government policy should respect the enforceability of contracts and promote the freedom of contracts in this space. Number 5, data flows. Large data sets aggregated from multiple devices yield the greatest insights to the benefit of the industrial internet users and society as a whole. Some governments have adopted policies that limit the flows of data across national borders, usually by requiring the data be stored within their own jurisdiction. My understanding is that Nigerian data localization policies focus primarily on personal data. The industrial Internet of Things and data taken therefrom is a different kettle of fish entirely, and does not generally include data that is personal. Many connected devices, such as jet engines, cross borders as part of their normal operations. Governments should adopt policies that encourage cross-border data flow. Restricting the transfer of data across borders will deny countries the full benefits of the industrial internet and thereby limit their own economic growth. And finally, number 6, workforce development. I can't say enough about this. This one is really important and a shared issue globally, as evidenced by your work at this same conference just a year ago. As countries embrace this new digital industrial future, we need to make sure our workforce is prepared for that future. We need a bridge for the current generation of workers to catch up, as well as training for the next generation. And to ensure society reaps the full benefits of the industrial internet, governments should adopt a comprehensive approach to leverage digital industrial innovations. With digital training and retraining initiatives, labor market reforms, redesign social safety nets, and the use of technologies in the workplace that augment human skills. I would note that Nigeria is well positioned in this area with your commitment to universal education. So what does this mean for GE or the internet, industrial internet of things, and Nigeria? Well, for us, GE Digital has ongoing projects in Nigeria, including digitizing cement plants in Obajana and Ebese, as well as GEL Utilities gas turbine power plant. And we are looking forward to deepening our digital engagement in Nigeria in the coming years if we are selected to play a role in an upcoming World Bank finance project to modernize the electric grid and enhance utility communications. Greater efficiency and availability in the electricity sector is among the most important ways to strengthen Nigeria's economy and promote prosperity and stability. This is an extraordinary time. I couldn't be more excited about the ways in which GE is ready to change the lives for the better around the world through the power of the industrial internet. We're ready to work with governments and key stakeholder groups like the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law. We want to make sure responsible companies work with regulators to get this right so we can maximize the benefit of free-flowing data around the world. The future is ours. Our future is together, and our future is now. Thank you for having me. I wish you all good health and a very successful conference. Have a great day.